I'll talk if I'm available.
Word. It's we're live. It's pre-show anyways. Special bonus for the live listeners. You know what I mean? Sorry for being a minute or two late, but we're here in the flesh. I obviously won't. The audio recording of the podcast won't start at this point. It'll start later, like when we start the show. What do we have here? What are we eating tonight?
We got Nick and Bean's cooking show. Can't really see a good view. It's steaming hot, but it's some chicken with some tomatoes on top, some potatoes, and there's a little spinach over there. So it's gonna be a great meal.
You got to balance it out. I love it. Spinach, one of my
That's one of your favorites.
Spinach, one of my all-time favorite veggies.
There
what
we
up,
go.
Puff?
Now you got a view.
What up,
you fucking losers?
Because I like spinach.
I know.
Jesus Christ, we got these spinach eating, running losers. I'm doing podcasts with.
Or we're not eating fruit snacks and chicken nuggets over at the Bean household.
Oh no,
I love fruit snacks.
The fruit snacks, they didn't get to Evan this time. Becca confiscated them.
Oh man, Evan's in trouble.
No, they're not. Wow. They don't get anything besides organic shit.
Word.
Wow. So a little backstory here. Evan came over one day
Rome
to
says
watch some golf.
Who eats spinach? Thank you, Rome. Thank you, brother.
Spinach is very good for you. It's a power veggie, is what I like to call it.
So Evan came over to watch some golf. Okay, he happened to bring Bean too, but me and Evan were hanging, and at my parents' house they've got this huge box of like fruit snacks, you know, like the ones you eat as a kid. So Evan was loving the fruit snacks. Was loving the fruit snacks. So I slipped Bean a couple on the way out to give to him later. And Bean said he was so pumped about it and life was good. So now this is months later and Bean came over, stopped by. He was in the neighborhood, which always appreciated. And so the box was still there. So as Bean was walking out, I handed him a thing of fruit snacks and, you know, said, "Tell Evan it's from the prop god," you know.
Is that a spinach emoji?
It is.
And so I asked,
kind of fire.
How was the fruit snacks, dude? Because I feel like Evan, you know, would love me for giving to him. And then Bean just told me they didn't make it. It's all set.
They didn't make it this time. Next time, though.
Oh, I don't know if there's going to be a next time.
You can't blame. You can't fault Evan. You can't fault Evan.
Oh, Evan's coming over. He'll grab him over.
He's about to be able to drive himself over there. I mean,
any day now.
Nice.
Went to the Dolphins game last week. Sorry you had to sit through that.
Oof.
No, I didn't bring him to that.
Oh.
Thank God, because that would have been a disaster first game. No, I've already decided no matter what happens, the tickets are done after this year. And when he's old enough, if he wants tickets, we'll get tickets again. This franchise is in disarray.
Can't blame you.
September 12th, 2024, man. The day Tua died on the field.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that took me such by shock. Like, the play didn't look like that vicious live. But once you seen him on the ground doing what he was doing, you're like, oh, my God.
You're talking football or spinach? I know, right? Thank you, bro.
We're talking both.
City. I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't get the spinach hate.
Tua's brain is spinach these days.
Facts. Tua needs some spinach. If I'm being honest.
We're going to talk about Tua. We got Tua in the recap. Do we want to start this pod, Nick? Because I know we got a game in like 30 minutes.
Let's kick it off. Let me.
Prop God, we'll see you soon.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
Whenever you're ready, Bean.
Let's go. Do we have our intro music yet? Or are you
Not
still
this
working
week.
on that?
It'll be next week. Yeah. Me and the producers
Oh my
we're working
God.
on behind the scenes. We'll have us cooked up
Next week, guys. The fucking world changes, baby. Music for the pod. Either way, let's do it this week. Pod 4, week 3 NFL. What a week 2. I can't wait to tell you my week. Nick, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling relaxed. The weather was crazy. Getting home was nuts. I don't know if you saw outside this evening. Oh my God. The Peters Road, Davie Boulevard was straight flooded. I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I made it.
I love it. Absolutely love it. But you're home. We're here and it's pod time. I am pumped up. Before we get into it, and I just had one, to be honest, but Diet Smoke is releasing the most epic things, Nick. I just had a caffeine mushroom gummy. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of these things. It's like not the magic mushrooms. I mean, the ones that make you feel like your brain good. You know what I mean? The ones that make you smarter. This stuff is incredible. On top of all the Delta 8 THC, all the good stuff we already used, they've got this incredible new mushroom caffeine gummy, just a little gummy any time of day, makes you feel perfect on top of everything else. So I wanted to shout out that product. Guys, dietsmoke.com, code Nick and Bean, E on the end. Absolute fabulous stuff. Gerald, look at Gerald. He's in the chat. He knows the kickers hit every time. We, as a podcast, prop god, of course, but who found the prop god? I mean, I did. So we get the credit for it. But we found a glitch in the system where we're hitting every bet, and we'll get to that more. But that's the kickers over 1.5. Let's make your brain good. Yep, Rome, that's what it does. I don't know if it's working on me, but it'll work on you. I can promise you that. All right. So let's get back into it. Nick, give me your recap. How'd you do last week?
Went 2-0 on audio plays. I had a push, depending on when you took it, on the under in that Jets game. So 2-0 on official plays that released on the podcast. 1-3 on fantasy though. Fantasy was shit.
Yeah, you lost in every league we're in together. I saw that. But 2-0 still great. Great job.
First place in one league.
The pod was 6-2 overall. Prop god. He should have never given you Keon Coleman Thursday night because he had an offer. But of course, Jason Myers and Justin Tucker were the easiest hits of the weekend. He went 2-1 on the week, and I believe that makes him 3-1 on the season. Guys, I had my greatest gambling week ever. The only bet we lost was my Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, which he got down. He got tackled on the 1-yard line. Besides that, the under in that Broncos-Steelers game was never close to 36.5. And Monday night, listen, everyone was betting the Eagles. Teaser, money line parlays, everything. And what did I tell you? I said Kirko was going to get it done. And not only did he get it done, oh my God, it was incredible, Nick. So I had them plus 5.5. Okay. And I also had this same game parlay to win $2,800 and something else. Everything hits on that last play. We get the Elliott field goal, which they should have never kicked. Hit that for me. Then Kirko gets his second touchdown, hits that for me. Drake London anytime touchdown hits that for me. And Falcons money line hits that for me. My best gambling week ever. In addition to that, I won every fantasy league I'm in, 6-0. And even in in my league, Nick, I got stat corrected for a win. They took a fumble away from San Francisco, and I won by 0.06. Absolutely incredible week. So I will stop flaunting because we know we've had terrible weeks and we have great weeks, and we got to stay humble. All right. 6-2 as a podcast, though. We're the hottest gamblers on planet Earth. Stick with us here. Week 2 recap. All right. Now, highest of highs right there. When you have good betting weekends, you know you got to ride that wave. I'm going to bring us down, and I want to have not a funeral, but a pre-funeral for our sweet prince, Tua Tagovailoa. And the game was terrible. I went with the wife. We didn't even make it through the second quarter. I was gone. I am a halftime leave anyway because you can't get out of that stadium, but I could have left after the first 5 minutes. It was so tragic. Our season crumbled. Tua's fucking brain, man. He barely got touched. Damar Hamlin didn't even touch him, and he just went out cold. And, I'm going to let you give me your thoughts, but my first reaction was he should retire, right? We can't put him through this anymore. And then at the end of the day, I said, who am I to make that decision?
Right.
I'm not going to tell Tua to retire when I watch MMA every weekend and everyone gets knocked the fuck out. And then a month later, they're fighting. So I'm going to stay out of it. We'll let little Tua do his thing. But, it was a really sad day. What were your thoughts on that event?
Yeah, this is what I'll say. Tua hit Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin didn't hit Tua. You know what I mean? He threw his neck at him. He doesn't look natural running the football. He probably should never do that again. I was on the same wave. Like, okay, maybe the guy should retire, but like at the same time, it's not my career. It's not my brain. It's not my body. So that's on him if he wants to retire or not. But at the same time, like you see, like the MMA thing, you see guys get straight kicked in their head, kicked in their jaw, and you never see that. Rarely do you see them rigor mortis like that. He if you flick this guy in the head, he might just freaking, you know what I mean? He might just
our guy Gerald in the chat, he hit it on the head. Tua maybe made a glass. You are correct. So devastating Tua injury, and let's go on top of that. Let's name off the other injuries. Isaiah Pacheco, IR.
Tua was having a terrible game. A lot of people won't talk about it. He was having a terrible game before he got knocked out. So I'm not sure.
Talk about it.
Okay, let's not.
Leave him alone. He can barely think right now. He can barely open his eyes. Don't tell him about the game he was having because he doesn't remember it. So it doesn't really matter, right?
Didn't happen.
On top of Tua getting hurt, fantasy seasons. I mean, what a year already for these injuries. Obviously, CMC and Puka were already hurt. Pacheco on IR. Debo's hurt. AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp. 2 hours ago, I hear George Kittle's getting hurt. He's probably not playing this weekend. So, God, I mean, just Kenneth Walker, Jordan Love. I mean, the injuries have piled up. We gotta stay healthy, guys. I know the game is violent, but it's just been a brutal start to the season. So wishing everyone getting back healthy. Now, let's dive into some games. And as bad as Tua was, the Ravens, they ravened. Okay. They do this once or twice a year. They just choke so badly. And you would think, right? A team that's built to run the football, they get Derrick Henry. They got the best run game if they want in the NFL, and they can't close out teams. The Raiders come back. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the league already, and he's played 2 games. Devontae Adams is toe dragging every catch you could imagine. They come back, and they beat the Ravens, who are 0-2. Nick, give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, so I mean, the Ravens, they're the number 1 ranked offense on the season in 21.5 points per game. They've got the most total yards on the season. But at the same time, still, I think this was the first time since the 90s that they've ever, not the 90s, but it's been a long time since they've ever started a season 0-2. I think since Harbaugh's been there, they've never gone 0-2. I'm a firm believer in the Ravens. I love that team, but there's just something there that is preventing them from getting over the edge. They might be in jeopardy of missing the playoffs at this point.
All right.
So they're just over median. They're just over median.
I don't know where you're getting your. Only Nick can pull these stats, guys. He just gave us that they're the number 1 offense in the league at 21.5 points per game. The Saints are averaging 45.5 points, Nick.
Yeah, so the Saints are over here an outlier. I don't know how long they can keep that up. They're like the best team since 2009 in expected points added per play.
I've got the
Carolina
Ravens
Panthers.
They're number 14 in offense, Nick.
The Carolina Ravens.
Panthers. Where did you get number 1 offense?
I'm talking about points per game. So we go over here
they're
to
not
Football
even
Database.
close.
The Baltimore Ravens are the number 1 ranked offense with what points per game?
Yards per game, not points.
Yards per game. Total points, though, scored in the season. They've scored 43 points. And points per game, they're still number 1 at 21.5 points per game.
They're not number 1.
Then this site is just BS?
No, you're sorting by yards per game.
You're right. They're
number 14
check that.
in points
Double
per game.
Check that.
So,
they're number 14 in points per game.
Hold on, though. This isn't while your stat, you got it across wrong. You said they were number 1 in yards. It's even more incredible that they're number 1 in yards per game and number 14 in points per game. That is unheard of. They're not finishing drives. They're not capitalizing, and they're 0-2. That's absolutely crazy that those stats can go hand in hand. So while I know what you were trying to say, it came off wrong, but that's insane.
Yeah.
All right.
There's another surprising one that I'm going to share later with red zone opportunities per game, red zone attempts per game, in a team that's not doing well.
Would love to hear it. And I've got we'll talk about the Ravens more later as well. I've got them involved in pod picks. Spoiler alert. All right. Is Sam Darnold doing that Sam Darnold thing he does for the first few games of a season to look good and then he's going to be terrible, or is he legit this time? Give me your answer.
I would be way hesitant on saying that Sam Darnold is legit this time. I don't think he's a horrible quarterback by any means, but I don't think he can sustain what he's doing right now.
I tend to agree. The 97-yard touchdown to Jefferson was so awesome. Sin City says he's got the Ravens losing. Shocker, considering Cincinnati is in his name and he's a Bengals fan.
Yeah,
so totally shocker there. But either way, I thought Darnold looked good. I am hesitant as well. But if Jefferson's on your team and Addison comes back healthy and their backs are looking decent and Kevin O'Connell's dialing it up, maybe he can sustain being a solid quarterback. Now, let's get to the Saints, the number 1 offense in the league with 45.5 points per game. You had them as your best bet in pod picks last week, getting the 6.5. So tell me what
plus
you saw.
6.5.
Incredible.
Plus 6.5. I get laughed at. Kamara goes off. He makes it look easy. I guess he's super healthy now or something. Maybe last year he wasn't really fully there. He is absolutely flambeing the league. I don't know what flambeing actually is, but I know it means cooked.
Sounds fantastic. And yes, hand up right here. Prop God and I were laughing at you when you gave out the Saints, and it was over right away. You were getting points. Incredible pick by you. You saw something we didn't. And Derek Carr looks great. Again, like Darnold, I don't think can maintain it, but they're both in new offenses that maybe fit their playing style a little bit better. They got a lot of weapons around both of them. So can't really hate on them. Great bet last week. And they got a big game against the Eagles coming up as well. Now,
same division as the Cowboys.
Same division as the Cowboys. So the way that the NFL set it up last week was there were 10 1:00 games and 3 4:00 games, which you always hate, right? Now, the 4:05 game was Arizona versus the Rams, okay? And before we even knew it started, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 4 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter of that game. 1 quarter of play. And after everyone dogged him for his 1-catch, 4-yard performance in week 1, he came out, showed why he was the number 4 pick, and they absolutely dominated the Rams, Nick.
Yeah, so there was a point where so my buddy's a Rams fan. He's texting in the group chat. He's like, "Oh man, like he's getting all pissed off." And I'm like, "Yo, are they going to cover this guy?" There was some catches that he had that I don't think there was a defender within 5 yards of him. And I think at the end of the game, he said he had 4 drops and Kyler had only 4 incompletions that game. So that game, they were both on fire.
Yeah, he did make a comment. He's a pro's pro. Grew up, dad in the league, and they asked him, how do you thought his game was? And, he was positive on it, but he's always looking to improve. And he was like, yeah, I saw Kyler only had 4 incompletions and those targets were to me. So we want to fix that. I like that. So Gerald says Nick got banged on by Kamara in fantasy, but you also have him in a league or two.
And I'm in first place in that league.
That's nice. All right. 2 more games that we want to touch on real quick. The Chiefs survive. They lose Pacheco in that game, which was tough, but they get a really now, listen, it wasn't a bad call, the 4th and 16. It was pass interference, but why everyone's complaining is because the Chiefs always seem to put themselves in a position to get a call to win a game. But, I mean, you can't be that early on the did you see the play, Nick?
No.
Okay, so last play of the game, basically, they're about to lose. Mahomes throws one up, and the Cincinnati defender just hits the receiver from behind too early. They get a pass interference, kick a field goal, win the game. So the Chiefs, their offense is not looking great. Mahomes is not throwing the ball that well. But, of course, they're 2-0. The defense is solid. They're well coached, and they're the team to beat. So give me your thoughts on these teams. I think the Bengals showed something to me last week that I'm positive on, because the first game I was like, oh, they suck. And then even in that loss last week, Burrow's hand looked better. I think they're okay, which I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that either. I was actually shocked at how bad they performed the first week. I didn't expect that. So would you agree on that? It kind of shocked you the first week. The Chiefs, on the other hand,
yeah, it was bad. Yeah, agreed.
The Chiefs, on the other hand, I thought this was probably like the best roster on the league, like in the league by far. They've got the fourth worst ranked defense in, not points, let's not go points again, in yards allowed per game. They're allowing 386 yards per game right now. So they've got to clean that up if they expect to make a Super Bowl run here.
Yep, agreed. And they got Kirko on Sunday night this week. And the last game I wanted to touch on, I talked about it in the beginning, but the Falcons, huge win for them. They go into Philly, comeback win, beat the Eagles. Kirk looked like he couldn't move the first week. He didn't look great this week, but he got it done. And being 1-1 was huge because they got Kansas City coming to town. So big win for the Falcons. Now, let's talk week 3, baby. I've picked out 4 games that we're going to go through, okay? We can't do too many. 4 is the perfect number, sometimes 5 if there's like an incredible game we have to get to. But I think 4 games is the perfect amount. Then we'll bring in Prop God. I like what we did last week. Let's all run our picks together, do it all together. And it worked out, okay. So we got to keep it going because we were 6-2 last week. Week 3. 3, not 2, 3. First game, the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud, who sunned the fuck out of Caleb Williams. He's like, come here, little buddy. Let me tell you, you're going to be all right. It's like Caleb Williams is like, dude, we're the same age and you've played 16 games. Relax. But that killed me. It went viral. I thought it was hilarious. So Houston Texans are -2.5 at Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. Total is 46. Nick, give me your thoughts on this game.
Minnesota. The Texans, we all were high on their offense coming into this season. The Vikings have kind of come out of nowhere. We did not think they were going to be a great team this year. At least I did not think I should speak for myself. I did not think they were going to be a great team this year. But this is actually going to be a close game. And if preseason, I would have put this like minus 5.5 Houston Texans. But right now, actually, as far as like EPA per play and things like that go, the Vikings are actually standing out ahead of the Texans in that matter. That being said, I do think the right team is favored in this game.
Yep. Rome says the Texans will win. Brian Flores, he may be an absolutely terrible human being, but he can scheme a defense. I'll give him that. All right. So let's move on. I don't honestly, that game is tough for me. I could see it going either way. Excited to watch. Jefferson looks like he's playing. And I'd lean Texans, but I'm staying away. I don't have a bet in that game at all. Now, the Eagles travel to New Orleans, who is a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Eagles, which no one would have predicted 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And the over-under is 49.5. Nick, I don't know which way I'm leaning in this game, but I know A.J. Brown's still out. If he was in, I'd be taking the Eagles for sure. But can the Saints stay this hot? Can they?
That's the problem with this one.
You're the Saints whisperer. You're the only one who saw last week coming. So tell me.
That's a problem with this one. I'm not going to give away like which side I'm leaning on this one, but what I'll say is the Eagles have been performing like crap. And obviously everyone knows the Saints have been performing really well, but honestly they've been performing outlier well. That type of performance usually does not carry on for the long term, like 18 weeks. You can do that in short spurts, but can you keep it up for a season? We're about to find out. Not saying in week 3 we're about to find out, but we'll find out over the coming weeks. Jalen Hurts actually talked to the team in the post game. The coaches didn't even speak. It was just Jalen Hurts and maybe a couple other players speaking to the team. I like that for the Eagles. And maybe I'd be scared if I was the Saints But these guys, I can't knock them. I cannot knock them. And that's what I'll say about that game.
Yeah, I lean under there. I think 49.5 is a big total. And I think these defenses are not as bad as this total says. So I would lean, and in a game where people are expecting a lot of points and will probably be betting over, I would lean under in that game. And yeah, Nick Sirianni is a bad head coach. So I think Jalen Hurts getting in there, a little players only talk is what they probably need. Romy Rome says Eagles need to win. 0 for 3 is no good if they lose. They won't win though. I don't think I think they're 1-1 though, Rome. I think they beat the Packers week 1. So I feel you on that. 0-3 would be bad, but I think they'd be 1-2 if they lose. So let's move on here.
Oh well,
all right.
Hey, if they've won a game, then I know which side I'm betting. If they're winless, then I don't know.
No, they have. They're 1-1. They definitely beat the Packers. I know that.
Okay.
So
and I definitely do lean and agree with you on the under.
Yeah. All right. Next game. This is a doozy. The 0-2 Ravens travel to Dallas, who's 1-1. The Ravens are -1, and the over/under is 48. What are your thoughts here, Nick? This is a doozy of a game.
This is a doozy of a game. The Ravens need one bad. Starting 0-2 is horrible. I feel like nobody wins this game. If I were to guess, I think it's going to end in a tie.
A tie? Ooh, I like
it's
that.
Gonna end in
so
a
you're
tie.
leaning Cowboys then because they're getting a point at home. You know what? This game is in my pod picks. I think it's the best game on the card. I think Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, they're clearly are desperate for a win. You know what I mean? Zay Flowers, one of my guys from before the season's been incredible. And Mark Andrews seems to be getting healthy. The Ravens are trending in the right direction. But the Cowboys need to bounce back. I mean, they look so good in week 1. You travel to Cleveland, a tough place to play, a tough defense. They dominate them. Then they come home in a spot that they should win. They're touchdown favorites, and they get beat by whatever they did, 30. So it's kind of like, the bull meets the horn, whatever that saying is. Like, something's got to happen. One of these, the Ravens, can they go 0-3? I mean, really, can they? Or can the Cowboys lose another game at home? Like, it's tough to see. And you'll see it. I'll tell you more in pod picks, but I lean towards the away team.
The Ravens are a top 3 DVOA team on the season. They're top in yards on the season. The Cowboys are looking mediocre in every sense of the fashion. It's hard to say that the Cowboys are going to win this game on my end.
I like it. All right. Last game that we're going to preview, Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes, -3.5 at Kirk Cousins. Over-unders 46.5. God, this game, I just like these colors, the red and yellow from the Chiefs, the black and red from the Falcons, just look so good in the dome Sunday night. And, oh, God, this is a good game. Now, 3.5 is the perfect line. When I looked at this game, I was like, Vegas they hit it on the head every time. And -3.5 just seems perfect. You want it, All right. So just that 3.5 is tough because you want to bet the Chiefs, but they could easily win by a field goal. They could easily, you know what I mean? The hook is tough. So what do you think? Are you leaning one way or the other?
Beginning of the season, I said this. I would say that this would be a very easy call. I would have hammered Chiefs -3.5. But after last week, we thought that they would blow out Cincinnati, and they put up that performance, and they're bottom 4 defense in yards allowed per game. Falcons don't look that bad. I couldn't bring myself to bet +3.5 against the Chiefs, but if I had to, I'd probably bet the Falcons +3.5 in this game, but I'm not betting it.
Yeah, Rome, yep. He confirmed the Packers obviously did lose to the Eagles. But yeah, so I like what Atlanta's starting to do. Pitts, I don't even care about Pitts. He's done to me. Like, he's okay. He's not going to be what everyone thought he was going to be, but they're really getting the 3 receivers involved. Obviously, Drake London finally had a good game, but you also got like Darnell Mooney looked good. He had a big play for a touchdown. Ray McLeod seems to be like Kirk Cousins kind of, security blanket. And then you see what happens when you let Bijan cook. He's one of the best running backs in the league. He's incredible to watch. He reads the defense well. He's fast, but also powerful. He's just a joy to watch, really. And obviously the Chiefs had been leaning on running the football, and now Pacheco's out. What do? Do they hand it to the white guy who can't run, Samaje Perine, who isn't that good, or they
Who
pick
can't run worse than the white guy?
Yeah, okay, exactly. And then they pick up Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was terrible last year back in Cleveland. Like, he couldn't even beat out Jerome Ford for touches. So, I mean, I hope for my fantasy wise that they throw the ball a little bit more, but it does feel like an Atlanta type game. And we'll see. I'm really, really excited to see it. But again, I also lean under in this game because I feel like it's just going to be a little bit more sloppy than we think. And I think it's a 24-21, 23-20 type game, which would go under that 46.5. All right.
I would bet the Falcons, if anything.
Is Clooney Works or Clown Works? What's the name
Clown
here?
Works.
Clown Works. We got a Patriots fan in the building. Respect. All right. Jacoby 500 yards. Yes, I think on the season he could throw for 500 yards. Right? He could. Maybe,
on the season,
maybe not. He could. Now, I mean, I think. Well, it's too late. I mean, you wanted to give out a play on that game, but either way, let's get the podcast.
It kicked off already?
Probably. Let's get to what the people
I think we got
pay
a
us
couple
for,
minutes.
Nick. Bring in the prop god.
I'm going to give out my bonus play ASAP since I think we probably have like 8 minutes before the game kicks off.
The game has kicked off. Game has kicked off.
Oh, gosh. Under 38.5. I wasn't tracking the game starting. Was my bonus play on this. I told my one league in the chat what my bonus play was. So shout out to them.
All right. Who cares? The game's kicked off. Clownworks is our guy. Pats fan. Go Pats. Hopefully they win. Hopefully Ramondre scores a couple tutties. All right. Prop God's here. He was 2-1 last week. He didn't even want to give out Keon Coleman. I could feel it in his bones, but he did for the people. And he really should have been 2-0 because the kicker props never lose. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling great, honestly, this week. So Nick sometimes gives me a little shit for the kicker picks. You know, he wants something sexier. And I
don't know that I do that.
I usually try to find something. And now, no, I don't even look anymore. We're strictly kicker props. We're like 8-0 going back last year on these things. Vegas is catching up. Take them while
Gerald knows the kicker god is here. All right. So tell me, Nick, how many picks do you have?
I've got 3.
All right. PG, how many you got?
3.
3? All right. Beautiful. Lead us off. I've got 3 as well. We'll pass it around. We'll do the old pass and weave, the 3-man game. Let's do it.
Weave.
PG. The 3-man weave. Lead us off, PG.
Y'all know the drill.
Let's go. All right, prop number 1. We've got Chase Sarah McLaughlin, the Buccaneers kicker, over 1.5 field goals. Okay, this guy, the Bucs are playing the Broncos in Tampa. This guy is 5 for 5 this year. He's actually a new kicker to the podcast. But I've been watching this guy. I've been keeping an eye on him. Jack Biedick, my brother, loves this guy, and
he's a good guy.
We checked all 4 of our boxes this week. So Chase McLaughlin, pick number 1, Bucs kicker, over 1.5 field goals. That is minus 115 on Hard Rock right now.
I just put it in. I love it. Absolutely love it. Nick, start us off with your first pick.
Prop God, you got the people excited about these kicker props. I've got people in my other league. Again. There's people trying to take the over 1.5 in both kickers on tonight's game. I was like, I don't know if the prop God condones this, but I was like, hey, I love it because I know where this originates from. All from the prop God. All righty.
Yeah. So, wait. I will say for tonight's game, over 1.5 for Zerloin is the pick. Okay. But not for the Patriots kicker. I am on Zerline. Not a prop God pick, but I am on him for some decent money this week.
Cool. All righty. So we're getting to my first play. I've got the Browns minus 6.5 versus the New York Giants. the Browns offense hasn't really been clicking like that. The Giants are a bad team this year. You've got people camping out after the game, trying to burn Daniel Jones jerseys, and they traded away Saquon Barkley. They're all pissed. Cleveland is a top 10 team in overall DVOA. That's combining offense, defense, and special teams. And Cleveland is ranked number 7 in the league in plays per game at 67.5, while the Giants are tied for 18. So in the bottom third of the league at 59.5 points per game. So they're getting off way more plays than the Giants are. Usually if you can, so let's say the average is 3.5 yards per play for both teams, right? If I get more plays off than you, I'm going to get more yards off than you. If I get more yards than you, most likely, not always, I'm going to score more points than you. And then the Giants are bottom 10 in defensive DVOA. So I like the Cleveland Browns going against the New York Giants at -6.5, almost a touchdown under the hook.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Love them in a teaser too, if you can find them.
All right. I alluded to it earlier. My first pick is going to be the Baltimore Ravens -1. And a few reasons here. Obviously, they can't go 0-3, especially averaging the most yards per game, in the NFL on offense. But here's the thing, okay? At the end of the day, I looked at these two teams, and I like both these two teams. Both have solid offenses, both have solid defenses. But guess what? John Harbaugh versus Mike McCarthy at the end of the day, all right? I think the Ravens do not go 0-3. I think this is a desperation game. I think Lamar makes enough plays. Derrick Henry, I believe he's from Texas, coming home, having a big game. I'll take the Ravens in a weird one, like a 24-18 type game. There it is, Baltimore Ravens.
Nice. Can't argue with that one.
What do they call it in a game where the points have never been scored before? Scoregami. Yeah.
That is not a scoregami.
You would, Nick.
In a scoregami game.
That's 3 touchdowns for the Ravens and a field goal by Tucker and 6 Aubrey field goals.
Love that.
That's the game.
Biggest leg in the league. Pause.
Yep. Pick number 2, which ties right into Nick's pick. We're going Dustin Hopkins, the Browns kicker. Okay.
D-Hop?
They're playing at home against the Giants, over 1.5 field goals. Okay. Dustin Hopkins, he was leading the league in field goals through most of last year. He kind of tailed off at the end, but the guy has made 17 field goals in a row. He's 17 for his last 17. Across the league, it is beautiful weather this week. Weather is not an issue. We're going to have weeks later in the year where we don't really have any good games besides the ones in domes. This week, every game has great weather. So Dustin Hopkins, over 1.5 field goals versus the New York Giants. It is -120.
Yeah, the Giants are lined up for a top 3 pick next year, is what I'll say. All right.
Yeah, Giants gave up 7 field goals last week or something. Like they lost without giving up a touchdown. They're like the first team to do that in since 1950. Third team since 1950. I saw.
Is that true though? Because I think week 1
no, it's the only team to score 3 touchdowns and not give up one and lose in regulation.
Yes.
Okay. Because week 1. Week 1, the Steelers didn't score a touchdown but won the game.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Say it one more time, Bean. First
they scored 3 touchdowns and didn't give up a touchdown and lost in regulation. It doesn't even make sense.
I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, because they didn't have the kicker, so no extra points, so they ended up with 18. Either way, they suck. That's the moral of the story. So Dustin Hopkins, you said, right?
Yep, -120.
All right.
Bean's locked it in now.
Second pick for me. I already locked it in. Second pick for me. We're going to take another under. They've been working out. I'm 1-1 on these unders. The first one was a fluky one that Dallas went over in that first week. But the under I like here is the Bears at the Colts. The over-under, it just moved 5 minutes ago from 43.5 to 43. They probably knew the pod was coming. So I will take the under 43 in that game. I think the Bears defense is awesome. I think the Colts defense is really solid, and they play they play a lot better at home than they do on the road. And I think this game is two quarterbacks who really just haven't figured it out yet. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. I got more faith in Caleb Williams than I do AR, but I think 43.5 is kind of that weird in the middle total. And I don't think these two teams are putting up a ton of points. My biggest fear of this is obviously a couple huge plays from the Colts, but the Bears have a great defensive backfield. Jalen Johnson and those guys back there are really playing solid. So you saw them Sunday night. They lost to the Texans, but I mean, the defense wasn't the problem, clearly. So we'll take under 43, I guess not 43.5, under 43, Chicago at Indianapolis. PG, what's your third pick?
You missed my second pick. You accidentally skipped my second pick, so I'm going to insert myself. I'm taking.
Did I skip
I'm
you?
taking. Yeah, on accident. So
I'm sorry.
3-man weave. We'll keep it going. So I was a little bit. I was a little bit afraid about this one because Philly coming off that tough loss, Jalen Hurts going into the locker room and speaking to the team. They have a lot. I don't know what you want to call that, spirit or whatever you want to call that. This kind of like an intangible coming into this game. But the Saints are cooking. Saints minus
you're riding
3
them again?
Yeah, I'm riding the shit. Saints minus 3 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints are at home. I think minus 3 isn't really saying that the Saints are that much of a better team than the Eagles. It's maybe saying that they're 1 or a half point better than Philly. I think that's about fair. Even if we take away their outlier performance, if they keep playing at that outlier performance, they're more than 1 point better team than Philadelphia. The Saints executing extremely well. They're number 1 in EPA per play. The Philadelphia Eagles are bottom 10 in the league in defensive DVOA. That does not line up good for them. And Philly is tied for, this was what I was getting to. Philly is tied for first in red zone scoring attempts and has lost every single game so far this league. You can look at that either way. Sometimes stats are the way you interpret it. You could look at that like as, the tide's going to turn for them, or you could look at it as they just aren't very efficient in the red zone. So I'm going to go with the latter, and I'm taking the Saints minus 3. I think you said that they might even be minus 2.5 right now, which I love even more if I can get that under the hook. The Saints minus 3, though, I'll even take that.
2.5. You got them at 2.5.
2.5. I love it. Hammer it.
All right. Give us your last one, Prop God.
Pick number 3. We're going back to the basics, to the classics, to the Butker. Not Brandon Aubrey. We're going Harrison Butker. I love Brandon Aubrey, okay, but I didn't even look at his this week because last week it was minus 200. I bet he's like minus 250 now. So
whole league loves him. Minus 145
for Aubrey.
For Aubrey.
Not an official play, but he's probably taking that.
I'm not. Okay, I love Aubrey, but I have my checklist, and I follow the checklist. We're disciplined here. We're not just throwing out games. We're not throwing out kickers. We're trusting the process. Okay, so Harrison Butker, it's Sunday night game in Atlanta. Okay, indoor game. And Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals. The guy is a machine. I can't remember watching him miss one in a long, long time. So Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals. I will give out a couple honorary mentions if you guys want to throw in some 7-8 prop parlays. Jason Myers, the Seahawks kicker, over 1.5 field goals. Okay, that's minus 140. We've got Evan McPherson, the Bengals kicker, on Monday night against the Washington football team. That's minus 150. Tyler Bass, also on Monday night for some reason in a different game, over 1.5 field goals.
Slap in the face.
That's not listed yet. But if you guys want to get a big parlay in there, if you want to throw Aubrey in, I'm not against it. I would definitely throw Beans Colts under in there. Love that one. So, yeah, let's get a mega parlay in here this week, guys. All right. but do it responsibly.
Right. Do it responsibly.
He's saying,
Nick,
don't put the mortgage on it.
give me your last pick, Nick. Agreed. Don't put the mortgage on it.
My last play, and I was a little bit concerned with the news that came out a little bit earlier today. We've got Devo out and we've got Kittle out. We've got McCaffrey out, but we all know that didn't even matter. This coach, Shanahan, Jesus Christ.
I love that.
Shanahan.
That's what I'm calling it from now on,
Shanahan, he's got one of the best schemes out there. And what I was saying, I think on the preseason pod is this team is the most likely to go to the Super Bowl even without their quarterback. I don't know that it really even matter who you line out there as long as they're NFL talent caliber players. This guy is going to get them ready to go, and he's going to scheme his way into a W. We've also got the Rams performing like crap on defense. So I'm taking 49ers Rams over 43 points. Rams, the worst defense in yards allowed per game. They're allowing 426 yards per game. The 49ers are top 5 offense without the best running back in the league. Both these teams are top 10 in the league in in plays per game. So they're both running a bunch of plays per game. And like I said earlier, if you usually run a lot of plays against a team with a bad defense, you're probably going to end up with a lot of yards. You end up with a lot of yards, you're probably going to score a lot of points. And the 49ers actually shockingly, which because of their roster look and way they've performed in the past, the 49ers shockingly have a bottom 5 DVOA defense this year. So I like the over in the Rams 49ers game over 43. My last play.
All right. My last one. Monday night, there's 2 games, which is awesome. The first game, I believe it's the first game. It might be the second game. But the Jacksonville Jaguars travel to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Buffalo's a good team, right? I mean, 2-0.
They're actually pretty good.
They come back against Arizona. They beat the fuck out of the Dolphins. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league besides Patrick Mahomes. James Cook, I have him on 3 fantasy teams. Absolutely blew off. I love this guy. They're going to fucking kill the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? The Jaguars are a terrible team, right? I mean, they choked against the Dolphins, who may or may not be good, I guess. And the Browns killed them, okay? The Bills are only -5 in this game. I mean,
the Bills are better than the Browns, so I'll give you that.
Way better than the Browns. They're the easiest survivor pick. They're the perfect teaser leg to end your teaser on Monday night, right? Just like the Eagles.
I know this is a setup.
Right.
Oh my!
I know my guy well enough.
I am gonna fucking hammer the Jaguars, baby. Let's go, Trevor Lawrence. ETN. This team is dog shit. They're gonna roll into Buffalo and slap Josh Allen across the fucking face. Let's go, Jaguars. +5 on the road. This is incredible. This is the bet, just like the Falcons, all right? Nobody was rooting against. Nobody thought the Falcons were going to win. My group chat, I mean, someone told me, I think Brendan was saying Kirk Cousins is going to be dead by halftime. I mean, nobody believed in this team. Nobody believes in the Jaguars. Everyone thought they were people's sleepers before the year, picking them over 9.5 wins. Everyone's out on them. Well, guess what? They'll be back in after this week. They're going to win this game outright. Take the +5, though, but they're going to win this game outright, okay? So let me recap our bets. Prop God, Chase McLaughlin, Dustin Hopkins, Harrison Butker, over 1.5 field goals. You've also got your other plus plays, but those aren't Prop God plays. So those are your 3 plays for the week. Yep. We're all on 3. Nick, you've got 6.5 for the Browns at home versus the Giants. You've got -3 or -2.5. Saints.
Come on.
Saints at home versus the Eagles. Sorry.
That hook is huge. That hook is huge.
Yeah, there you go. And you've got the over in the Rams-Niners game. I have the under in the Colts-Bears game. I've got the Ravens -1 and the Jags +5. Now, before we go, and remember, we all gave out 3 picks last week. Oh, no, Nick gave out 2 picks. We were 6-2 overall. We're the best game. I mean, if you're not taking the picks, I mean, you guys are absolutely crazy. Now, I'm going to give everyone a bonus play, all right? I've got a lot of money in this Hard Rock account, so I've been having fun with it. I'm going to give you a 7-bet anytime touchdown scorer parlay, okay? Each one of these guys has to score a touchdown. throw whatever you want on it. It pays 639 to 1. Okay. So
this won't count on his record because that's a wild bet.
Doesn't count on my record. Throw $5, throw $10 on it. Or if you're like me, throw $75 on it. All right. Tony Pollard, Brock Bowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Damn it. Scratch it.
What happened? Once tonight.
No, Kittle's in it, and he's not going to play. He's not going to play.
Do they push that automatically? What happens in that case?
They'll push it, or they'll just cancel the bet. So I don't even want to give it out because I won't know the thing. But it was I'll have one of these every week for you. This was 75 to win 59,000. So we'll have one of these in the future. Sorry,
if you want a down payment on your next house.
This is how you know that we went 6-2 last week. We're giving out 10-teamers. Beans every week. He's giving one of these.
Exactly.
We're going like 2-5 next week, and never hearing these again.
Nope. Listen to me. I'm all the bonus plays, all this parlay, everything we said. Don't take them. Just take the prop god plays and the pod picks. That's it.
Yes.
Our 9 bets. Take them, cherry pick, take the ones you like, leave out the ones you don't. But those are the plays. Those are the ones we really believe in and that we put in the work for. So hopefully we can do 6-2 or better this week again, which would be fantastic. Besides that, next week we are going to start the FanDuel. Okay. Nick and I will have a FanDuel lineup. Maybe if Prop God wants to get in on this, we can do a little, a 3-teamer thing and we can all compete. We'll figure that out. Also, I am going to recap my guys from before the season, see how they're doing, see if I know what I'm talking about. Hint, I do because I am 2-0 in 4 leagues and 1-1 in 2 leagues, and I always win. So I do know what I'm talking about. So we'll go over those my guys. We'll do a FanDuel. We'll see if Prop God wants to get involved. And
we may or may not have theme music. We may or may not have theme music. Let's not hype it too much because I got to get with the producers. You never know. I might have to massage their back a little bit.
How about
maybe
2
bring
weeks?
some diet smoke.
2 weeks?
I don't want to promise anything, but you'll probably hear it next week.
I'm beginning to feel like a prop god. That's my music.
It probably won't be that.
All right, that's our time, guys. Enjoy Thursday night football. We appreciate y'all. Rome, Clownwork, Gerald, all our people in the chat, everyone listening. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Shout out. Peace
out.
Peace.